in between this time around. Top 5 best available in the transfer portal. This is the January 9th update as things have changed. Some of these guys have been in there quite a long time and curious to see what they're doing. Some of them just chopped in the last couple of weeks or a week or so. Number 5, Dante Cephas. Wide receiver from Kent State. I would have thought this guy would have been signed, sealed, and delivered from Penn State for Penn State. That was where it was leaning earlier. That was a team that needs wide receivers. They've gone and signed like 3 of them. Not to say that it would stop him from going there, but thought he was going to be for sure there. Really good guy, a really good player in the MAC. Lost his quarterback, obviously, to UCLA. A lot of defections there from Kent State, including their head coach is going to be the OC at Colorado. So curious to see where he lands. Maybe he winds up at Colorado, but this is a guy that you need to keep your eye on, a really talented player out of the MAC that has not signed anywhere yet, but has a lot of interest.
Yeah, I just did a quick search to see what the latest, buzz is about him. And, there's little things about like, oh, this team could be interested. Maybe it's a transcript thing and have to get that together this semester. And maybe the, post spring ball that picks back up. Cause that's part of the deal too, is, maybe right now not everything's in order. And I don't know that for sure. I'm just saying that's like the speculation because, why is he not somewhere already? Yeah. I mean, that's really the only thing that, quite frankly, kind of explains it because he's a pretty good player. So, surprised just given the way his name was mentioned early on that he's not already landed somewhere. But post-spring, he could be a big pickup for somebody. If, it's only January 9th. He could still but we got the end date coming up, right? So
the January 9th?
Today's January 9th.
I think it's like in the next 7-9 days.
Yeah. So, he could very well be a post-spring guy.
Yeah. Number 4, Nick Jackson, linebacker from Virginia. Virginia's seen a lot of guys jump in the portal. Not really sure. He's been in there for a little bit of time, but I wonder as Tony Elliott, tries to turn things around there at Virginia. They, of course, obviously ended the year in with a tragedy, and so we've seen a lot of people leave. But, what he's looking for, he'll be sought after. I think he might probably stay in the ACC, but we'll see. I mean, this is the kind of the end of the portal where guys start towards the end where guys start hopping in, realizing that they got to make their move maybe right now or if they want to play somewhere in spring. So curious to see this. This is a guy who I kind of thought would be at Virginia, but again, you never know.
Yeah, I was just making sure. 9 days for the portal.
Yeah.
9 days until the portal closes. But, had a terrific career at Virginia. I mean, boatload of tackles, all ACC type of a guy. Don't know much about the interest level in him beyond that, but do know he's a guy with definitely some numbers behind the name and a lot of experience. So, beats me on why he's still sitting out there.
Yeah. Number 3, and this is a player, look, I would say that most of the guys that went in the portal from A&M, outside of depth purposes, they were not all that stressed out to lose. And that includes a couple of the guys that were 5 stars like Denver Harris and Chris Marshall, who got suspended. I don't think that they were probably worried about that because of the way that things went with those guys and fit and culture-wise, which is a problem at A&M. But Anthony Lucas, defensive end, he is in the portal. This is one I think that that stings them a little bit as they look to build back some depth on that defensive line, which they think is okay, but this is a 5-7 team from a year ago. He'll have interest from everywhere, all over the place. He's from Arizona, but that doesn't mean that he's going to wind up at Arizona State or Arizona. I do think, though, that this is a guy who can maybe go to a couple places and name a number as far as a check goes because he's a very sought-after defensive end. But we'll see where he winds up. He's not going to have any shortage of interest. And this one stings a little bit for A&M as where some of the other ones maybe didn't.
Yeah, you can only have so many 5 stars that you lose. You're like, oh, that's okay because we're better off. Yeah, certainly some of them eventually. That's why you had the number 1 recruiting class. You can't lose all the guys that put you at number 1 and then be, thinking that you're still, right where you were. But some of that culturally, does need to be weeded out. Guys that are flying around at however many miles per hour in tight-fitting garages and things like that. Obviously, don't need to be on the team much more, even though. Found a landing spot close to home, right there in the SEC, and the big rival in Garrett's LSU Tigers.
I'm not big on that move.
We don't have parking garages here. No, they do. But, you're not big on that move?
No, I don't trust his character.
No, I'm with you. I'm totally with you there. But obviously, there's talent. So, but yeah, Anthony Lucas. I think USC's the kind of the leader in the clubhouse now, based on the rumblings. So we'll see if Lincoln Riley goes that direction.
Yeah, and that seems to be also defense is where he's trying to get better at in Los Angeles. Number 2, Spencer Sanders. Still kind of fascinated by this. Because, and maybe I'm biased. Like I said, I've been following the kid since high school, know his career really well, got his team to a conference championship, is superbly athletic, has a lot of just gifts physically. I know he's been a little banged up, but unless it's something that's really, really bad that we just don't know about, there's a couple guys maybe ahead of him that I would have gone for, like Sam Hartman, and if Grayson McCall had stayed in, Devin Leary, sure. But to me, Spencer Sanders is a guy who can immediately help your team, especially if you are built and missing that one piece of a quarterback who can push you over the top. But I don't know if those teams are necessarily left now. So we'll see where Spencer Sanders winds up. I'm just fascinated to see how this goes.
Yeah, I mean, I've said all I can say on Spencer Sanders. I don't know why he's still out there. I've said over and over again, I guess there must be an injury that we're not aware of, or maybe he was contemplating, staying in Stillwater. There's been a lot of back and forth thoughts on that over the last couple weeks. But, I don't know. And I'm very curious to eventually learn why he's just been sitting in the portal outside of perhaps injury concerns of some sort. Never heard anything about him being a problem outside of the lines or in between them. So, I don't know. I'm stumped on this one.
Yeah. And number 1, Jordan Burch, defensive end from South Carolina. This was a huge signing for the Gamecocks a couple of years ago. He's an in-state signee, but they've had a lot of transfers. South Carolina under Shane Beamer, this gave him a big extension. I don't think he's all that worried about it. Again, he's trying to rebuild this team in his, in what he wants, but they've lost some players, and that was a really good season for them last year. This is a guy who was maybe, one of their highest rated signings since Jadeveon Clowney back in the day. So he'll be out there. And again, this is another guy who will be like Anthony Lucas, be able to just, call up a coach and say, I'm coming. And they'll be like, all right, hold on, let me go shove this guy out of the room so you have a scholarship. But he'll be there. I mean, he would absolutely be anywhere that wanted him.
Yeah, I've seen already. Saw a lot of Texas fans that were commenting on the possibility there. I think Oregon's another team that maybe there's some momentum or movement in that direction. I don't know. Could also just be a lot of just fans wish listing, to want to pick up guys. So we need to read more into all of that. But as you said, it'd be a highly sought after guy. So if Texas and Oregon and many others are after him, that wouldn't come as much of a surprise. But yeah, good for Shane Beamer. He's done a good job there at South Carolina, and thought they had a pretty good year, all things considered, and overall, I think you're happy with the product, and obviously always want to get better. But I think they've found their guy, and congrats to him on getting that extension.
All right, thank you, Paul. Top 5 tomorrow. We'll have